Most people think cleaning the mind means forcing thoughts to stop, trying to be positive, trying to fix everything inside their head. They sit in silence and wrestle with their own thinking, and when it doesn't work, they conclude that peace isn't for them. But the samurai understood something far more precise. The mind does not stay clear by force. It stays clear through care. The mind is like a room. It doesn't become clean by accident. Dust settles every day. Noise accumulates. And if you ignore it long enough, the mess begins to feel normal. Samurai never waited for clarity to appear. They maintained it, quietly daily, without drama. If you are tired of carrying mental noise you can't explain, tired of waking up already tense, subscribe now. This channel is not about suppressing thoughts. It's about learning how to clear space so the mind can breathe again. Peace does not come from thinking less. It comes from creating more space between thoughts. Ancient Japanese teachers described the mind as the sky. Clouds pass through, but the sky remains open. Worry, doubt, anger, fear, these were never treated as enemies. They were treated as visitors, temporary, allowed to pass without being held. One of the most influential figures to teach this was Takuan, a samurai monk who lived over 400 years ago. His insight was simple but exacting. Trying to push away dark thoughts only tightens their grip. What matters is keeping the mind spacious enough that they don't take over. Every morning before sunrise, Takuan swept the temple steps, not to make them spotless, but to practice clearing his inner world. Each slow movement of the broom was deliberate. As dust left the stone, worries left the mind. Doubts, resentments, anxieties were not analyzed. They were gently removed. This was not metaphor. This was training. The peace he carried did not come from avoiding darkness. It came from meeting it calmly and letting it move on. Samurai did not seek a mind without thoughts. They sought a mind that was not crowded. There's another story, quieter but more revealing. In the early 18th century, a samurai named Araki Nobumasa rose quickly in rank. His skill was sharp. His reputation strong, but as responsibility increased, his mind grew heavy. At night, he lay awake. His thoughts raced with decisions, enemies, futures that had not yet arrived. Anxiety settled in. Not because he was weak, but because his mind never rested. One night, an old Zen monk visited him. He did not lecture. He did not analyze. He handed Nobumasa a wooden ladle and a small basin of water. "Your mind is muddy because you stir it too often," he said. "Try this." From that day on, before sunrise, Nobumasa sat in silence. He filled the basin. Slowly he poured water back and forth with the ladle. He focused only on the sound, the rhythm, the weight of the water falling. He was not trying to stop thinking. He was not trying to relax. He was making space within. Weeks, something changed. The thoughts did not disappear, but they slowed. The pressure lifted. The samurai who once feared the noise in his head became known for calm under pressure. That small ritual did not solve his problems. It cleaned the mind that faced them. This is where modern thinking goes wrong. People believe mental peace means solving everything, fixing every issue, being happy all the time. Samurai believed peace came from cleansing, not fixing. Like tending a small garden daily, not rebuilding the land. They used rituals to reset the mind gently. Before writing, many samurai poured water into a stone basin and washed their hands slowly. Not for hygiene, for clarity. The pause itself mattered. The sensation of water, the slowing of movement, the return to the present moment. The brain received a signal. This space is being cleared. You can do the same. Washing your hands slowly. Before starting your day. Lighting a candle and sitting quietly for 2 minutes. These are not symbolic gestures. They are neurological cues. They tell the nervous system it is safe to let go. one of the most respected samurai strategists, Yaji Munenori, practiced something called the true interval. When overwhelmed by heavy emotion, even in battle, he would pause for a single breath. One blink. One still moment. Not to escape the situation, but to return to his center. That single pause became armor. You can practice this anywhere. Before responding to a message, before speaking, before reacting. One breath can clear the dust of the mind. Not because the problem vanishes, but because you return to yourself. Japanese culture has a word for this intentional clarity, cleanliness, not just of the body, but of the spirit. Samurai lived this through their surroundings. Every object had a purpose. Every movement had meaning. Their spaces were uncluttered, not for aesthetics, but because clutter outside breeds clutter inside. You don't need to change everything. Clear one drawer, one desk, one corner of a room. When you remove what you don't need physically, the mind begins to release what it no longer needs mentally. Clarity outside invites clarity within. Samurai also practice ink painting, a single brushstroke full of intention. Once the brush touched paper, it could not be erased. The goal was not perfection, it was presence. The act itself became a mental cleansing. You can apply this through journaling. Each morning, write one unfiltered thought. Do not analyze it. Do not fix it. Let it exist, then release it. Like a brushstroke. This is how unspoken weight leaves the mind. Silence was another ritual. Samurai practiced silent reflection each evening, sitting without speaking, watching thoughts like clouds, noticing what repeated, what felt heavy, and with each breath, letting it drift away. 5 minutes is enough. No phone. No music, just presence. They understood silence was not empty. It was where truth could be heard. And finally, there was cleaning. Not productivity cleaning. Sacred cleaning. Osoji. Wiping tools. Sharpening blades. Washing cups. Not to prepare for war, but to prepare the mind. They cleaned what they touched. Because the mind follows the hands, you can do this weekly. Wipe your desk, sort your bag. Wash a cup slowly, not rushing. Not multitasking. You are not organizing objects. You are clearing the mind behind them. You don't need loud motivation. To feel peace, you don't need pressure. You need space. Habits that create room in your day, your mind, and your surroundings. Samurai did not chase happiness. They prepared for clarity. And from clarity, peace emerged naturally. The next time your mind feels heavy, do not try to force yourself to feel. Better, do not fight your thoughts. Clean around them. Light a candle. Breathe once. Wipe your desk. Wash your hands slowly. Let go of the excess. The mind does not need fixing. It needs space to return to its quiet, clear self. Most people live as if mental clutter is inevitable, as if carrying noise, tension, and unresolved thoughts is simply the cost of being alive. They normalize the weight. They wake up with it, carry it through the day, and fall asleep with it, still pressing on their chest. Over time they stop noticing it. But the samurai never accepted this state as normal. They believed that a cluttered mind dulls judgment, weakens spirit, and slowly erodes one's ability to act with precision. This is why cleaning the mind was not an occasional practice. It was daily maintenance. Just as a blade dulls with use, the mind accumulates residue through contact with the world. Every conversation, every decision, every fear left unattended leaves a trace. Ignore those traces long enough, and clarity disappears. The mistake modern people make is trying to clean the mind at the level of thought. They argue with themselves. They analyze endlessly. They replay events, justify reactions, rehearse imaginary futures. This does not clean the mind. It stirs it. Like muddy water, the more you disturb it, the cloudier it becomes. Samurai wisdom approached the problem from a different direction. Instead of attacking thoughts, they changed conditions. They slowed the body, simplified the environment, reduced unnecessary movement. Through these external shifts, the internal world followed. This is why ritual mattered so much. Ritual is not superstition. It is structure. When repeated daily, small, quiet actions create predictable mental states. The body learns that certain movements mean release. Certain pauses mean reset. Over time, the mind stops resisting because it recognizes the pattern. The power of ritual lies in its humility. There's no ambition in washing hands slowly. No ego in wiping a desk. No performance in sitting silently. These acts bypass the part of the mind that wants control and praise. They speak directly to the nervous system. This is also why these practices feel insignificant at first. The ego wants big solutions, dramatic breakthroughs, complete transformation overnight. Samurai culture distrusted this impulse. They believed, what is loud fades quickly. What is quiet endures. Mental cleanliness was never about perfection. Thoughts would still arise. Emotions would still appear. Fear would still visit. The difference was that none of these were allowed to settle permanently. They were acknowledged and released day after day, like dust swept from a floor that will be walked on again. Tomorrow. This perspective changes how you relate to negativity. Instead of seeing it as a failure, you see it as residue. Something natural that requires care, not judgment. You stop asking, why am I like this? And start asking, what needs to be cleared right now? That shift alone reduces suffering. Samurai also understood that speed and clarity are opposites. A rushed mind misses details. It reacts instead of responding. It mistakes urgency for importance. This is why pauses were trained deliberately. A single breath, a moment of stillness, a conscious stop before action. These pauses were not escapes, they were returns. Returns to center, returns to alignment, returns to the present moment where choice exists. Without pause, there is no choice. Only reaction. Modern life is structured to eliminate pauses. Notifications arrive instantly. Messages demand immediate response. Opinions form before facts are considered. This constant forward motion creates the illusion of productivity, while quietly destroying clarity. Samurai discipline reinstated the pause as sacred. Makoto no ma. The true interval was practiced not only in battle but in daily life. Before speaking, before deciding, before moving. It created a gap between stimulus and response. Inside that gap lived freedom. You can feel this gap when you practice it. That brief moment where the mind loosens its grip. Where emotion does not dictate action. Where you are present enough to choose. This ability does not come from thinking harder. It comes from stopping briefly. The same principle applied to their surroundings. Samurai lived in spaces stripped of excess. Not because they valued emptiness for its own sake, but because excess invites distraction. Every unnecessary object pulls attention. Every pile becomes a reminder of something unfinished. When you clear physical space, you remove constant low-level demands on attention. The mind relaxes because it is no longer scanning clutter. This is why cleaning a room often feels relieving, even before you understand why. Clarity outside reduces vigilance inside. This is also why creative practices like ink painting and calligraphy were used as mental cleansing. One stroke, full attention. No correction, no revision. The moment the brush touched paper, commitment was absolute. This trained acceptance, presence, letting go of control. Modern journaling can serve the same role if done correctly. Not planning, not analyzing. Simply releasing one thought onto paper, letting it exist without correction. The relief comes not from solving the thought, but from no longer carrying it. Unspoken thoughts weigh heavily. Once expressed, they lose. Mass silence was another form of cleaning. Not silence as absence of sound, but silence as absence of interference. Sitting without stimulation allowed patterns to reveal themselves. Repeated worries, lingering resentments, unfinished emotions. Seeing them clearly made release possible. Samurai knew that silence is uncomfortable at first. It exposes what noise hides. But they also knew that avoiding silence means avoiding truth. When you sit quietly and watch thoughts come and go, you begin to see that you are not the thoughts. You are the space in which they appear. This realization loosens attachment. The mind becomes less sticky. This is the deeper reason cleaning the mind works. It shifts identity from content to container, from thought to awareness. Once that shift occurs, thoughts lose their authority. Peace emerges not because life becomes easier, but because the mind stops clinging. None of these practices are dramatic. None will impress anyone. And that is precisely why they are effective. They operate below the level of ego. They rebuild clarity quietly, without confrontation. The samurai did not aim to feel good. They aimed to remain clear. Feeling good came and went. Clarity stayed. When clarity is maintained, decisions improve. Reactions soften. Actions align with values instead of impulses. Over time, life becomes simpler not because problems disappear, but because the mind facing them is no longer overwhelmed. This is the hidden power of daily mental cleaning. It does not change the world. It changes the lens through which the world is met, and that changes everything. A clear mind does not announce itself. It does not feel euphoric. It does not sparkle with excitement. It feels quiet, ordinary, stable, and that is exactly why most people never maintain it. They confuse peace with stimulation and clarity with happiness. When neither appears dramatically, they assume nothing is happening and return to noise. The samurai never made this mistake. They understood that clarity is not an emotion. It is a condition that allows correct action. Without clarity, effort scatters. With clarity, even small effort lands where it matters. This is why cleaning the mind was never optional. It was as practical as sharpening a blade. A dull sword endangers the warrior. A cluttered mind endangers judgment. Both fail at the moment. Precision is required. Most modern people wait until they feel overwhelmed before trying to calm themselves. Samurai cleaned before the chaos arrived. They prepared the mind in advance so that when pressure came, it found no place to lodge itself. This is a crucial distinction. Mental cleaning is not a reaction. It is prevention. When you clean the mind daily, problems do not disappear, but they lose their ability to dominate. Thoughts arise, but they do not pile up. Emotions appear, but they do not harden. Life continues to happen, but it does not overwhelm. This is what it means to be centered, not detached, not numb. Centered centering is not achieved through force. Force tightens. Centering comes from space, from allowing the mind to settle naturally. The way. Water becomes clear when left undisturbed. Every ritual the samurai practiced served this one purpose: to stop stirring the water, washing hands slowly, sweeping floors at dawn, pouring water in silence, pausing for a single breath, cleaning tools, writing one unfiltered thought, sitting quietly at night. None of these actions solve problems. They dissolve accumulation. Accumulation is the real enemy. Modern life encourages accumulation everywhere. More information, more opinions, more possessions, more notifications. The mind is never allowed to empty, and a mind that never empties cannot see clearly. Samurai culture resisted accumulation through subtraction. Remove excess, reduce movement, simplify surroundings, create intervals of silence. Let things pass. This approach requires patience, because the benefits are subtle. You do not wake up transformed. You wake up slightly lighter, slightly calmer, slightly clearer. And if you repeat the practice, that slight clarity compounds. Over weeks, reactions soften. Over months, decision-making sharpens. Over years, identity stabilizes. People ask how samurai remained calm in chaos. The answer is simple. They did not wait for chaos to practice calm. They practiced calm when nothing dramatic was happening. This is the part most people skip. They want techniques that work only when things are already bad. Samurai built habits that prevented things from becoming bad in the first place. The modern mind resists this because it wants justification. I'll clean my mind when I'm stressed. But stress is already the result of neglect. Cleaning after the damage is harder than maintaining daily clarity. Daily mental cleaning does not demand time. It demands intention. 2 minutes of stillness. 1 breath before reacting. 1 drawer cleared. 1 object wiped. 1 thought released. Small acts, done consistently, keep the mind breathable. This is why these practices feel almost too simple. The ego distrusts simplicity. It wants complexity to feel important. Samurai trusted simplicity because it works. When the mind is clear, you do not overthink, you do not rush. You do not freeze. You respond appropriately. That is all clarity is. Appropriate response. In a clear mind, emotions inform but do not command. Thoughts appear but do not dominate. Attention stays anchored. Action becomes clean. This state is not mystical. It is trained, and once trained, it becomes a refuge you carry everywhere. In conflict, in decision, in loss, in success. The external world can change, but the internal space remains intact. This is why samurai did not chase happiness. Happiness is unstable. They cultivated clarity because clarity endures. From clarity, peace follows naturally. Not forced, not chased. It appears as a byproduct. Most people spend their lives trying to fix themselves. Samurai cleaned themselves instead. They did not see the mind as broken. They saw it as overcrowded. When you stop trying to fix and start creating space, the mind remembers how to function on its own. This is the quiet truth behind all these practices. You do not need to become someone else. You need to remove what is not essential. What remains is enough. The next time your mind feels heavy, resist the urge to fight it. Fighting adds pressure. Instead, clean. Slowly, gently, clear 1 small space. Pause for 1 breath. Let 1 thought pass without engagement. That is how clarity returns. And if you practice this daily, without expectation, without performance, you will notice something profound. Life will not become easier, but you will become steadier. Problems will not disappear, but they will stop controlling you. Noise will continue, but it will no longer live inside you. This is the way of mental cleanliness. Not dramatic, not loud, not visible to others, but deeply powerful. If you are ready to stop carrying unnecessary weight, to live with a clear and steady mind in a noisy world, subscribe. This channel exists to preserve clarity, discipline, and inner order where most people lose them.